Awesome. I'm Chris Anthony. I oversee brand partnerships at Group 9 Media. Today's presentation, obviously, if you guys have joined my sessions, are talking about the trends in retail and what's happening in this space. For us at Group 9, our session today is going to be on leading into the purpose funnel to drive mobile purchases. And yes, that's kind of our fun take on the purchase funnel. So you'll see a lot about how the commerce-driven opportunities that we've designed at Group 9 over the last year in the pandemic and beyond that, and how we're thinking about really how to align purpose with that to really drive further engagement. So like I mentioned, our approach, top to bottom content strategies woven with cutting edge commerce solutions. Just to ground everybody as we're talking through what commerce means from a purpose standpoint at Group 9, I'll start with just giving you a little background of what Group 9 is so that you understand sort of this opportunity and have a little bit more of an illustration on as I'm speaking. So we're a portfolio of brands. We like to say we're bound by optimism. I think that that word is critically necessary in the world that we're living in today. The 5 brands that make up Group 9 is Thrillist. Thrillist is all around experience, culture, travel, food. As you can imagine, that brand has evolved much this year from a commerce standpoint, really understanding how do you create experiences at home versus outside the 4 walls of your home because of the natural sense that we're all living and working from home. The Dodo is a really powerful brand, literally the biggest brand on social. If you're a pet lover or not a pet lover, I imagine you'll become one by following the Dodo. Incredible videos, great storytelling, as well as a new commerce environment that we're launched on the Dodo as well. Pop Sugar is the #1 lifestyle brand for women. Really awesome shopping experience across Pop Sugar and a great curatorial lens across all categories for millennial women. Now This is the biggest social creator for news online, talks about all the issues for young people. This is a brand that obviously purpose really has a big cornerstone of the brand and really kind of testing the waters of how you can funnel commerce experiences through purpose, given Now This has such a natural alignment with a lot of the issues that young people care about throughout the world. And Seeker is another brand that's social first, really about science and technology, reaching that young Gen Z and young millennial consumer everywhere they're at, such as TikTok, et cetera. A brand that's growing exponentially and really helping us understand the future shopper as we test the waters there from a commerce experience. Just giving you guys a little bit of insights, between our massive audience of us reaching 70% of all young people in America, we obviously sit on a ton of data and are constantly understanding what's happening in our world and how to inform different strategies across the board. Some of these I think will be not surprising to you guys as we're all sort of navigating this new world from home and how customers and readers and consumers are engaging and shopping. Shopping on social, we know that 1 in 3 millennials say they're more interested in shopping via social. Inherently our brands are social first. Many of our 5 brands started out social only. So we have this natural understanding of how to really, create social driven content. How do we, create experiences, whether it be on Instagram, to shop directly, take that friction out of that experience and really bring that consumer where they need to be from an engagement standpoint. We obviously know that brick and mortar was rapidly changed this year. And we know that our consumers say they'll continue to shop online. They've retrained how they think. We know that retailers have also, for the most part, been able to meet them in that experience as well. But some of the legacy ones have been challenged to be able to, reorchestrate their IPs and their infrastructure to be able to do so. So, we hope as a brand like Group 9, we're able to sort of help meet in the middle and help some of those brands become a DTC-like retailer. We know that holiday this year, despite the madness that's going on, saw a really strong lift in sales for the most part across category. We've been able to take advantage of that and really help drive a lot of significant traffic to many of our retail partners. And we know shopping via apps has dramatically increased and will continue to increase. So how do we create experiences that are much more custom and curated through our own apps and experiences to sort of mirror back to the retailers that we know do so well? This sort of sets the tone and the rest of the flow for our experience. So as I mentioned, obviously the purchase funnel is something that has existed forever. We feel like that model is evolved and maybe even potentially broken. We know that, in 2020, a lot changed in culture. a lot changed across the board. But we know that through the lens of really aligning purpose-driven content with commerce experiences is really where we're seeing engagement, of seeing that from a talent standpoint, of seeing that from community support. We know that our audience wants to support businesses that are really doing good for the world, and even pairing larger brands, as you'll see coming up, with smaller brands that are doing that as well. We know that a lot of brands, especially retail, especially other types of businesses, were majorly fractured and impacted by the pandemic. And we wanted to make sure that we are creating experiences now and for the future where we can help fill those gaps and holes for success. So cue this experience that Group 9 launched in Q4 that we're calling Swipe.Shop. This is really exciting for us. We're saying this is a new dawn of shopping. It's the first time that the 5 brands that I mentioned are all coming together through their own curatorial lens and really creating commerce experiences that are both socially driven, virtual, on-site, mobile first, all through the lens of each of the 5 brands. And we kicked that off in Q4. And this just gives you a little bit of a snapshot into some of the brand partners that were part of this, and really kind of the layout of this. An experience that kicked off in Q4, like I mentioned, really took an understanding of where the marketplace was going, where we saw insights from a category standpoint, and then really built smart programs for all the retailers above. And as you can see, the retailers and singular brands really ran the spectrum, which was really nice to kind of see that we knew that our shoppers at home and readers at home were really looking for a different type of experience, one that was well curated, one that was shortening the path to purchase where we could and where we could meet them in different environments. This is just, again, a little bit of a snapshot. 80 million impressions, so massive explosion of engagement. We created 84 different shops, over 2,000 products our editorial team curated, and at a significantly high click-through rate. One of the things that was really exciting about this is we made a really big effort to support diversity across the board, whether that be from photography, of how we approach the content. So we worked with a lot of small businesses and made a really big effort to create experience for small business. 15% of the products from all of the experiences across Swipe.Shop were all from Black-owned small businesses. This is just a quick little screenshot of Old Navy, which was one of our partners. And this was different experiences, again, as I mentioned, really optimized for multi-platform on site on PopSugar, which is where one of that storefront existed. And then we took that same experience with a talent-led partnership that existed on Instagram as well. So really, taking the influence of PopSugar from a curation standpoint and then pairing that with a well-known influencer as well on social to really kind of push out that message and amplify the Old Navy storefront experience on Swipe.Shop beyond just the ecosystem of Group 9, but within our own platforms as well as our influencer friends. This is just a little bit, again, user journey. Swipe.Shop, is its own domain. We're building the IP around this, but then also, as you know, we have a mass audience across all of our 5 brands. So it's already this built-in community that we're helping sort of funnel to Swipe.Shop and back to our individual brands. So this full connected ecosystem of how we're pushing out content. Here's another example of our partner H&M, where we use this experience to create specific holiday dressing occasions. In real time, we're updating content based on delivery and based on sellout, et cetera. And we're able to be really nimble of creating those holiday moments for H&M, even though we know the holidays looked obviously much different for us this year. Again, just a couple of different categories. We knew that beauty, from an insights perspective, that category obviously was majorly shaken up as well in the industry during the pandemic. So we focused on categories within beauty that we knew would be winning, from skincare to self-care as a whole from a thematic standpoint. So really doubled down on different categories within beauty that we knew were rising before we launched Swipe.Shop. And then we're able to kind of bring in those to partners and have them wrap content, create specific commerce-driven storefronts for beauty environments that we knew were surging during the time that we're in right now. And then this is, a big part of really what we mean by purpose. So we made a point to obviously partner with a lot of the major big brands that we're all familiar with, the Old Navys, the Kohl's, the H&Ms of the world, then the singular brands like an S.C. Johnson and Corona. But we made a really big effort to make sure that we know that small businesses were obviously majorly impacted by the pandemic and are still being impacted. We wanted to make sure that we were giving them a big moment, and a moment that, in our media world may not be always on our radar in terms of calling them for advertising opportunities, or know that they don't have the budget to support their business the way that some of our big brands do. So we made a pledge to 50% of all of our inventory would go to small businesses, with a 15% dedicated to Black-owned small businesses. And then we also donated 160 million impressions to those same small businesses from just a sheer media perspective across the board. One of the great insights was those 15% of Black-owned small businesses saw a double engagement and triple click-through rate than all of our storefronts that were actually sponsored. So we know that highlighting those brands that were doing good, that were representing diversity from an underrepresentation standpoint, really drove the engagement that our readers wanted to see. And from a talent perspective, we thought through a really smart lens of bringing on, interesting women within that category to help us curate that. Aurora James was one of them, who is a great Black-owned small business owner that has, social influence status, and brought her on to help us really curate what those businesses should be. And then how can we pair those with major brands as well to give them greater exposure, not just to our audience, but to some of the bigger brands as well. So we saw a really great benefit for that. In terms of 2021, we really want to raise the bar to really continue to support small businesses. We want to continue to obviously support our larger brands as well. But how can we continue to kind of support that from a diverse perspective? Here's just further example of sort of the proof in terms of that engagement. We saw that our LGBTQ business shop as well was incredibly strong. We know that all of our storefronts around specific women's only opportunities as well were massively successful. You'll see those click-through rates. They continue to surprise me how strong they are, but I think it's just the beginning insight that stated the obvious is that we know that our younger Gen Z, our millennial consumer, always wants to support brands that are doing good. And I think that'll continue. And I think especially in this year, it was a big priority for our consumers. And we also know that these brands are also creating incredible products. It's not just about what they stand for, but it's about what their products stand for as well. So as you can imagine, we definitely garnered tons of attention from a press standpoint for our individual brands, for these brands that are small and don't have the megaphone that some of these brands do, through trade as well as consumer press. So that was sort of a look back at 2020 and where Swipe.Shop. For 2021, we definitely are continuing this experience as well, but bigger and better as retail comes back, and hopefully the rest of the world is soon after as well. We know that we'll have bigger and better. We'll know that our massive impression volume will engage to a lot larger volume. We know that our products will become bigger, 2,000 plus. We're gonna have 40 evergreen stores and 40 theme stores. So you can imagine massive explosion happen in Q4. We're gonna continue this effort in a much bigger way and be even more focused from a thematic standpoint and purpose as well. These are just some examples. As I mentioned, we saw such a great success around when purpose does meet that purchase funnel. And these are some of the more efforts we're going to focus around. We know that from a female perspective, there's political history happening right around the corner from the female standpoint. So we know that really doubling down on the core of some of our brands, such as Pop Sugar, of focusing on women's led businesses and how we can highlight women that are trailblazing when it comes from a commerce standpoint, and giving them an opportunity they may not have as well. So think DTC brands that are really disrupting the world, or big brands that are also thinking that way as well. We know that Black History Month, amongst many other underrepresented communities that typically celebrate in 1 month, how we can make that be more of an evergreen opportunity and support those types of businesses around the year. Same thing for Valentine's Day. We know that that's always a big holiday, but how can we make that holiday even more inclusive? And make that holiday even really more unique this year, as people will be spending it, hopefully, safely at home. Shop Small will continue more so as well. We'll continue to support small businesses in a big way, but also highlighting how small businesses can interact with our larger brands as well. We know in the same way from a community effort that the earth and the climate and sustainability is really incredibly important to our readers and to everyone. So thinking about how we can extrapolate interesting products and storylines of some of our big partners and bring them into our Earth experiences from a storefront standpoint. So that'll be a big focus as well, to really tell that story around sustainability and how certain products are really helping from a give back standpoint, from a year-round standpoint. So not thinking about Earth Day as one day or even a month, but beyond that as well. This just gives you a little bit of a snapshot, as obviously we are a digital only brand. However, when we thought about Swipe.Shop, we thought about how to make that much larger than that. We've incubated over the last few months a number of first-party data segments that we're helping sort of inform the future from a targeting perspective. We've built a database from a newsletter standpoint, so that'll launch this year as well. We'll continue to do live programming. We saw a ton of virtual events that came off of the heels of a lot of these storefronts as well, paired with talent. We'll continue to donate from a small business standpoint. We'll extend this into our TV relationships, as well as out of home. If you're in the Manhattan area, you probably sell taxi top covers, as well as places in Times Square promoting this experience. So we're really committed to making this a really big consumer commerce experience, as well as making sure that this experience is giving back to the community and really focusing on that purpose funnel that we know will continually to drive purchase, but really starting with purpose first. And that is really from a standpoint of how we're thinking about purpose and purchase together, and commerce as a whole within Group 9. So I'll end this now and answer any questions. Yeah, good question. Pete Durbin, do you work with brands agencies to craft a purpose, or do they need to come to you with their vision in order to take them to the partner? I think it's both. I think that some of our larger brands have a corporate social responsibility focus and come to us with a purpose. I think for the most part, coming into this year, we really carved out a nice editorial lens of purposes that we think that our audience care about from the data that we saw and from the engagement across Swipe.Shop. So we really love to bring a purpose to a brand, because I think that some of the purposes and focuses for a lot of these CSR initiatives can be really macro for a lot of these big brands. So if we start to see getting a little bit more hyper focused and become a little bit more niche, we see stronger engagement there, but are obviously happy just to translate a specific brand's initiative. But I think we love sort of bringing that purpose and then marrying it with talent or with a small business or with a community effort. That's where we saw the most engagement. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of Retail Innovation Week. Excited to be connected with all of you. You guys all have my information if there's anything specific further, or if you want to be part of Swipe.Shop, or you want to learn more about any of the insights that we've learned over the last year from a commerce perspective. Happy to connect with you one-on-one. But thanks again for joining, and enjoy the rest of the time.